And every kid that came up to me
Welcome to
said
the
I was
Way
the
Out
music they
Recovery
listened to
Hour.
when
I'm
they
Bob
first got clean.
Sharits,
Now look at me,
and here we
a
are on
couple
another
days sober.
Grateful Monday. If you haven't taken a minute to think about the things to be grateful for in your life, now's the time to do it. I know Monday's a little tough for some people, but I like to get us all prepped up for the week every Monday. And so if you're out there listening, happy Monday. We have this big, beautiful week in front of us with a lot of opportunity to interact with people and to really help anyone who we can. The Way Out Recovery Hour is brought to you by The Way Out. We are an intensive outpatient program for adolescents and adults. We serve a population that suffers from primary substance use disorders, although we work with anyone who has all the accompanying problems that go along with substance use, including mental health issues, and for our younger populations, school issues and acting out issues and all the things that go along excuse me, with being a teenager. We are located on the corner of Plum and Bouquet Canyons. And our phone number is 661-296-4444. Our website is thewayoutrecoveryscv.com. And remember that asking for help is the first step. If you're out there listening and you have a family member who's in trouble, or you yourself feel like you need to talk to someone and you don't know how to have those conversations, or you don't know how to get help, please reach out to somebody. Reach out to us, or reach out to people at your school, to a sheriff's department, to a family member, to your clergy, to anybody. But remember that asking for help is the first step. We have a really exciting show for us, for you today. I have in studio with me Arthur. How do you pronounce your last name?
I still don't really know, but I think it goes something like Mogilevski.
Mogilevski. All right, Arthur Mogilevski, who is the owner of the Valley Recovery Center, which has been out here for a while now.
Yeah, about 3 years.
So one of the goals that we want to achieve on this show today is to get everybody to recognize that there is high quality treatment in the Santa Clarita Valley, and a lot of people don't know about the Valley Recovery Center. So we are going to not only hear about your treatment center and the wonderful things that you're doing over there, but you and I are going to spend the next hour talking about what high quality treatment looks like versus the other guys, what bad practices are and what good practices are, what appropriate levels of care are, how does insurance work with all this treatment,
Sure.
All of that stuff. But let's start off by you telling us about the treatment center.
Great. First of all, I'd like to thank you, Bob. I appreciate you having this show for the community and inviting me to participate in it. So Valley Recovery Center is an all-men's inpatient detox and treatment program. We're located in Newhall, right off of Lyons and Valley Street. We've designed a small program for a maximum of 6 clients, and we designed the program to really not only address the substance use issues, but also the underlying issues like trauma and depression and anxiety, family relations. And it's a safe and encouraging environment, and we incorporate not only counseling, but high therapy services with multiple therapeutical components. We have a psychiatrist on staff, Dr. Thor Reyes, who's the head of psychiatry at Henry Mayo. So we're not only able to treat the substance, but the underlying mental health issues, the family relations, the job issues that come with drug and alcohol abuse. So yeah, we do a great job. We work with insurance. So we work with most insurance carriers. And if for private pay, we're always willing to help people out if they're in a financial position where they can afford even something.
Right.
And if they're not appropriate for our program, and if they're looking for an all-women's program, if they're looking for an outpatient or sober living or a therapist or a psychiatrist, we still welcome people to call us and seek that help, because we have amazing resources. Of course, the Way Out Recovery is one of our closest resources for outpatient services, but there are other organizations throughout the Los Angeles community and Santa Clarita as well that do provide really good care. So.
Well, I'd probably, you probably get sick of me because I use you a lot for,
I never get
where
sick
do I,
of you,
that's
Bob.
right. He's just saying that. But I'll tell you what, ever since we met, one of the things that I've noticed about you personally is that you have a ton of people that you're connected with, a ton of resources. I don't think there is a treatment center or an outpatient, certainly within a 50-mile radius of here, that you aren't intimately knowledgeable about. And
Absolutely.
that's one of the things that I utilize you for all the time. And referral, we're going to get into what appropriate versus not care looks like. And one of the things that really sets people apart is the ability to know those resources and to refer to appropriate levels of care. If you are in need of services and you call a treatment center and they say, "I'm sorry, we don't take your insurance," click, and they hang up on you,
Right.
then you want to sort of file that away and say, "Look, if I ever need help again, don't call those people right there."
Absolutely.
Because what's appropriate is to sit and go, "Okay, we don't necessarily take your insurance, but like what we do at the way out, come on over and sit down, and we'll sit on the computer with you, and we'll call our friends, and we'll call our referral people, and let's see where we can fit you based on what you can afford or what your insurance will cover and things like that." And that's the type of care that everybody should get. Referral is just one of the many components of high quality treatment.
Yeah. Can I
Please,
to add to that? The biggest thing that most providers need to realize is that not one shoe fits all, right? And everybody specializes in a certain type of service or treatment, right? And the ones who say they do everything and they can tackle it all usually can't, because they get lost. They don't know what to specialize in, what to perfect, so they do a little bit of everything. And that affects the client, that affects the families, because the quality of treatment that they get, and that's what we're seeing in the industries. People go through treatment 2, 3, 4, 5. We had clients that went through 19 programs.
Right.
19 programs. Why couldn't they get it right the first time? Right. So a lot of, that has something to do with, of course, the client and them being ready for it and accepting the help that they're getting. But a lot of it also has to do with appropriate placement. And we don't say we do everything. We only work with men. We work with men who suffer from mental health as a secondary and substance abuse as a primary. And if they're not appropriate for our program, we will refer them out. We'll refer them to a better program that they can do better. And that, in essence, helps our program too, because we become credible and valuable to the community in a sense. So we want to avoid people going through treatment through multiple stints. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they're ready or not, but also the fact that they need to go to an appropriate level of care.
Well, and some of the things, I mean, let's face it, as treatment providers, when we are working with clients, sometimes in the middle of their treatment or maybe a week into it or something like that. So let's take a scenario. I get a client that comes in and they have outstanding insurance, and we take it. It's this PPO, pays a lot. You're like, all right, cool, right? We can work with that.
Right.
And about a week into their treatment, as we start to uncover what's really going on with them, we find that they might have a disorder that we're not really qualified to treat.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
The difference between somebody being mindful of client-centered treatment is this: no matter how much their insurance is paying and how easy it is to tap into, we are going to refer this client to an appropriate setting so that they can get the help they need. It doesn't always happen day one. Sometimes day 10, you realize
Absolutely.
that. Yeah. And you talked about your program treats underlying issues, not just, so you're talking about mental health, you're talking about trauma, you're talking about different underlying issues. And at the end of the day, when we stop the drug and alcohol use, that's what surfaces. And so when a client comes in and they have these tremendous drug and alcohol issues, you don't always see what's going on at first. It takes a little while to sort through that.
Correct.
And appropriate treatment looks at that and then places or provides the appropriate treatment.
Absolutely. I can give you a perfect example. We had a gentleman that came through our program and clearly major substance use issues, and we have 3 therapists that work within our program. 3. Besides the counselors, and he saw all 3 therapists and wasn't able to really connect. He had a lot of trauma, and although we do treat trauma, we have an EMDR specialist, he just wasn't able to connect. And so what we did is we have a connection with a therapist in LA who specializes in working with veterans and the trauma that they deal with. So we were driving him twice a week to meet with this particular therapist to work with her. And he did amazing. I mean, he did really well with her. So, I mean, yes, do we have to adjust? Absolutely. And it's up to the treatment program to make those adjustments. And if you don't, you fail the client. And because in the end of the day, they're coming to you, they're trusting you with their lives. This isn't, they're not coming to you with their car problems and fix their mechanical issues. This is something where it's bad or good, and you know, they're coming to you so you can fix their bad and get them to a good place in their lives. So if you don't make those adjustments and you don't provide those additional services, or you don't refer up to a higher level of care if need be, then you're failing the client and their health.
Right, and we're dealing with human lives here.
Absolutely.
We're not dealing with cars.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, you know, what, right off the bat, when you're talking about your program, gender specific.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's always a need. I think one of the myths amongst, or one of the practices or ideologies that people get into that are treatment providers is somehow we get wrapped up in this idea that there's a limited number of clients or something, right?
Right.
And one of the amazing things that has happened recently is you and I coordinated to bring a bunch of treatment providers together just for a luncheon, right? And it was just the feedback that I got from the treatment providers, and what a beautiful atmosphere that was, and give them an opportunity to say, hi, I'm a therapist in LA who specializes in PTSD, and then be able to coordinate treatment with them.
Absolutely.
This idea that there are only so many clients to work with. And so what we did was we looked at the numbers, and just in the Santa Clarita Valley and the adult population, right. Based on the national average, which is 8.1% of the adult population qualifies for substance use disorder, right? Based on that percentage right there, in Santa Clarita alone, there was roughly 12,000 people that as we sit today, that need services, right? And so the need for high quality treatment is there. There's a lot of people who need our services, and when you talk about gender specific, you know, you guys are gender specific because of the need. I've tried to talk you into when are you going to open some women's programs, right?
Yeah, you have. You've tried very hard. To kind of add an asterisk to your percentage, that's what we know.
Right. You're right.
That's what we know.
That's identified.
That's identified. Imagine what's not. So absolutely. The way that I look at gender specific, you know, and it all depends on the setting, right? In an outpatient setting, could a co-ed environment exist? Absolutely. 100%. In an inpatient environment where they're still so fragile and there's so much still working in there and there's a lot of intensity, is that the environment to put them in a co-ed setting? Look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a professional that can tell you like yes or no clearly, but from what I've seen from our experience is we need to be able to control that environment so that they can really focus on themselves. And I'm not saying that every co-ed facility is like this, but in a lot of co-ed programs, you do have a lot of distractions. And distractions that really don't need to be there during this intensive period in their lives or in their treatment lives. So that's why we really designed the treatment program to be gender specific, because we want to eliminate those distractions. We're entrusting the fact that when they get to the way out, they're going to be able to start integrating back with that environment and that community, and that's where it's maybe a little bit more appropriate. But at least in my feeling, inpatient definitely would benefit the client if it was gender specific.
Well, and I obviously wholeheartedly agree with that, and especially the younger crowd. When you're talking about adolescent treatment or young adult treatment, you know, think about what it means to be a teenager with the opposite sex sitting around without any substance use issues, right? And then we throw that in the middle of it. It's like it's kind of a setup or a recipe for disaster right away.
Well, because you're dealing with a population that normally doesn't build strong relationships with other people, so they just build fast and quick and emotional ones, and they really don't process it. They really don't go through the system. So it's a very fragile situation.
So then you also keep your numbers limited, so you have a 6-bed facility. What amazes me about that facility is that you have 6 clients and how many staff?
So We have full-time staff. We have 11 full-time staff, obviously through different shifts.
Wait a minute, there's more staff than there are.
It does exist, yes, Bob. It does exist, yes. That is just our full-time staff. Obviously, it's spread out through our shifts. And during the day, we have 5 staff members. That includes our counselors, our program director, admissions coordinator, chef. But that doesn't include our ancillary therapists. That doesn't include the 3 therapists that come in. It doesn't include the life coach. It doesn't include the hypnotherapist. It doesn't include the art, the music, all those additional yoga. It doesn't include all those ancillary therapists that do come in during their scheduled times. So, I mean, is it high staffing? I mean, yeah, talk to my accountant. He's going to tell you that it's,
cut back.
It's cut back.
Cut
It's
back,
costing
Arthur.
us a lot. But, like I said, they're coming to us for help, and we got to do everything that we can to give them that opportunity. Are we going to be able to help everybody? No. I'm not going to sit here and say that we are.
Right.
But we're going to give every opportunity to make sure they succeed. At least that's what we have to do. So, yeah.
Well, and that's what we need to do in this profession, in this field, in this world of helping and treating other people, and we're not selling them cars.
Right, exactly.
We're trying to bring families together and to heal all the dysfunction that's been going on. How does your, you have 3 different therapists, and from what I understand, do your clients get to pick which therapist they go to? How does that work?
Yeah, so
I love this idea.
we have a very, very interesting model. It does make the scheduling a little bit difficult, so sometimes it sways into one way or the other. But we have one family therapist that works with our clients individually and with their family. So family therapy is a big component of our program. Does everybody come in wanting to work with their families? No. I mean, we try to counsel them into it.
It's not always possible.
Right. It's not always possible, but we try to counsel them into it. We really get them to commit to working with their families, because when they go back to their old environment, that's a big part of their lives that needs to be worked on if it's not, and if it's if it doesn't work currently. So anyway, so they meet with the family therapist individually and with the families as well. And then we have 2 other therapists that when the client moves in, they actually have an interview session with both therapists, and they get to choose which therapist that they want to work with. And we, again, schedule becomes a little bit difficult, but we see that it works greatly because we give them that empowerment, right? When they come into our program, they've pretty much either lost everything or on the brink of losing everything. The decision making is going down. Their ability to make decisions is no longer there, that are appropriate for their lives. So we want to give them some type of empowerment to be able to have a choice in their type of treatment. Does it always work? Do they always choose the right person? Not always, and that's why we have a clinical team that can adjust throughout. But it's something kind of unique and interesting to what we do. Well,
when I heard you talk about it before at one of our events, it really struck a chord with me, because it goes along the lines of, so here's what old school treatment used to look like, and in some cases still does, right? There used to be models like tough love model, where somebody comes in and you teach the family really super strong boundaries, take all the doors off the hinges, take everything away from them, and then make them earn it back, right? And what they found over the years, now I'm not 100% knocking that model right there, because there are people who swear by that still to this day, is I needed somebody to get in my face and tell me what to do, and I responded well to that. But the percentage of people that respond well to that is a very, very small percentage. And so what's happened over the years is treatment has turned into this. Client and their family walk through the door, and rather than say, here's what you're going to do, what we say to them is, thank you for choosing our treatment center to help you straighten out your life. We want you to be part of the decision-making process. How can we serve you? Not the other way around, but how can we serve you? And so it fits right into that model. And we know very well that one of the biggest sort of driving factors behind drug addiction and alcoholism is shame. And when a person comes in, they're so ashamed of all the behaviors that they participated in. And like you say, they're not capable of making, they don't have the any idea of how to make good decisions in their life. Or maybe they don't have enough self-esteem to be able to trust in the decision-making process. And you mentioned a word, empowerment. So somebody comes in and they're filled with shame. you know, and the first thing that we do is we hold their hand and say, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to yell at you.
Yeah.
We're not going to make the decisions for you. We're going to help you to have enough empowerment in yourself to be able to make those decisions. You know?
Well, for so many years, it's been a shame-based approach where, you know, you're a drug addict, you're an alcoholic, you're a loser. Why are you acting this way? And now it's more of a disease model where it's not in their control. It's like cancer. You can't control cancer. You can't control when it comes, when it doesn't come. You know, I related a lot to that respect because in the end of the day, addiction is not something that they can control on their own, and they need treatment and they need help, and it's not something they can just do by themselves by pressing a button. Hey, I'm good now. Right. And a lot of people think that, oh, I'll just take this medication or they'll take the shot and I'll be fine. You know, the reason why they're abusing it is not because they want to or they love it and they need it. It's because they're dealing with underlying issues that haven't gone through the proper grief and loss stages, that they haven't properly processed that trauma in their lives, either from a childhood or family, you know, from an upbringing or a recent thing with a wife or a husband. So, you know, it's a process, and again, the most important thing is reaching out and asking for help. That's the hardest thing. It's definitely the hardest thing. That's why we have these shows, and that's why we put on these workshops and all these other things, is to just tell people it's okay. You can reach out for help and ask a question. Yeah,
you know, when we started off the show, one of the things that I said is that we want people to know about treatment centers in the Santa Clarita Valley. You know, the reason that we have Valley Recovery on today is because we want people to have in their head, Valley Recovery, Valley Recovery, Valley Recovery. It's out there. It's in Santa Clarita. Reach out and get the help you need. You know, and we do as much as we possibly can at the way out to put our billboards up and to put our name out there and talk about it as much as we can, because unlike a lot of other diseases, when you are in the world of mental health and substance abuse, people don't just seek help for the heck of it, right? When they hit a bottom or when they have an eye-opening experience, then they go, okay, now there's a window of opportunity. And if they don't know about us out there, then there goes that window of opportunity. Absolutely. If they don't know, who do I call? Absolutely. Who do I call? Absolutely. And so we never know when that window is going to open up. So what we try to do is we try to provide, you know, an education and the resources so that when that window opens up, here we are, right? And so, you know, Valley Recovery Center is out there. They are here to help. They're an all-men's facility, 6-bed right here in Santa Clarita. Super high-quality treatments with detox and residential treatment all the way through. They have they're highly trained, highly staffed, and they work in conjunction with other treatment centers, including the Way Out. So we're here to help as well. Reach out for help if you need it or if a family member needs it. When we come back, so I don't think there's a person out there who hasn't read a lot of the big articles that have come out around some of the dirty practices that have been giving substance use treatment a bad name. Yeah. It is far from the norm, but it's happening. So when we come back, we'll get into that and what no-nos in the treatment world look like. So
do we have another 2 hours?
I know. Well, we'll briefly, right? We'll touch on it. This is The Way Out Recovery. I'm Bob Sharits, and we'll be right back after this.
Do you like to rock across Africa?
Then the wait is over.
Africa Rocks! Africa's Greatest Hits is now available at the San Diego Zoo.
Who could forget 99 red baboons? Or the African-crested porcupine smash hit, I Got Quills to Pay the Bills. Hey, don't get too close.
And the hits keep on coming.
Africa Rocks has all your favorites from 6 different African habitats.
Hungry like a leopard.
Ibex is back.
Harder, better, Fossa stronger.
And a new track from Kendrick Lamar.
Now, Larry.
Yes, Chuck?
A collection of this magnitude, I'd fly to Africa.
Well, don't pack your bags, friend. Africa Rocks is only available right here at the San Diego Zoo.
Wow, that really does rock.
No, it Africa Rocks.
Welcome to Africa Rocks at the San Diego Zoo. Rolling out July 1st. Stay late now through Labor Day at Nighttime Zoo. Presented by your San Diego County Toyota dealers.
Hi, I'm Miles McNamara, Certified Senior Advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Our caregivers help you in your own home. A Comfort Keeper can provide companionship, meal preparation, medication monitoring, assistance with personal care, transportation to doctor appointments, all enhancing your independence and safety in the comfort and privacy of your own home. So if you or someone you love could use a helping hand at home, call Comfort Keepers at 287-4200. That's 287-4200.
It isn't often when we see a company launch in Santa Clarita and become an international sensation. In 2010, Jen Gerard founded Whitening Lightning in her Valencia kitchen. Now it's a booming international sensation. Leading actresses and international models have switched to Whitening Lightning to avoid the mess, hassle, and sensitivity of other products. Whitening Lightning's simple Dial a Smile kit will dramatically turn your teeth whiter in just 20 minutes. Rediscover how white your teeth can look. Visit whiteninglightning.com. whiteninglightning.com. It's summertime party time. Have an office, birthday, bridal, or any party coming up? Flame and Skewers offers an excellent selection of tasty cuisine at reasonable prices. You gotta try it. We have healthy, fresh catering options for all your upcoming events. Visit our newest location in Granary Square, Valencia on McBean Parkway. Order online at flameandskewers.com or come in. Flame and Skewers, healthy, fresh Mediterranean food at its best.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and if you are just tuning in, we have been talking about what high-quality substance use treatment looks like. I have in studio with me today Arthur from Valley Recovery Center, which is a local, I don't think enough people know about you, so I'm going to say it again. Valley Recovery Center is out here. They're a residential, men's-only and detox facility that's right here in the Santa Clarita Valley. So, we say it a lot, asking for help is the first step, and it is absolutely the truth. We're going to talk about what some of the bad practices in treatment look like and why that is happening because of the articles and stuff. One of the things that's unfortunate about poor quality or unethical practices is that it reflects on all of us. And it even more so reflects on somebody who's out there who might want to get help because they sit back and they see all this stuff about bad treatment centers and they go, oh my God, I'm not going to treatment. And then they miss that opportunity. And I think at the end of the day, unfortunately, there are people that are out there dying because they're scared to go to treatment because of the unethical practices. Before we get into that, there was a question that came up during the break that said, how do I, if I'm seeking help for myself or a loved one, and there's all these different levels of care. So we run an outpatient program. You guys run a residential. Somebody comes in. How do they know at what level of care they need to go to? What does appropriate assessment look like when somebody comes through the door?
Well, I mean, it's a very good question. And like we said earlier, when they're with you for the first 10 days, you still don't know, and then you kind of learn while they're with you. It's really testing it out. So before we have any client come in, we go through a pre-assessment process, right? So we verify the insurance, we make sure that there's coverage, and then we have a 15 to 30-minute phone conversation about their history, their past with drug abuse, with their family relations, any criminal issues, job-related issues. So we really get to know the client before. We don't just take them in just to take them in.
Right.
Unless it's an emergency and they really don't have the time to sit there and answer 30 minutes worth of questions.
Sometimes it looks like, especially because you run because you have a detox component.
Right.
So when we do, no matter what you call it, multidimensional assessment,
Pre-assessment.
whatever you call them.
Exactly.
Basically what happens is we're looking at different areas in a person's life. Some of those areas are going to include the obvious: substance use history, what's going on right now, what kind of substances you're using. Very important questions that we ask right off the bat is, are there any severe medical problems going on right now?
Right.
We're assessing for severity right off the bat, and we're answering those questions. So detox is going to come when somebody is going to experience withdrawal symptoms that are going to put their personal health at risk.
Absolutely.
So with a lot of drugs, and especially today's world of opiates, and whether you know this or not, alcohol is absolutely the most dangerous drug to come off of.
Absolutely.
So somebody comes in and we start talking to them about their history, and they say, I'm drinking this much or I'm using this much, and we'll ask them questions like, have you ever had seizures? Have you ever had any heart problems? We'll take a look at them and see, are they shaking right now? Are they sweaty? Are they turning red? What's their heart rate? We start looking at that kind of stuff and assess whether or not they need some sort of immediate help right now.
Well, and also the thing is that, yes, we do provide detox, but, I mean, there are, like you said, alcohol, benzodiazepine. I mean, there are heavy narcotics out there that if the abuse is high, we're not going to be able to take it. We'll refer them to a hospital level detox where it'll be safer, and we work with a couple of detox facilities that are in hospital settings. I refer you to one quite often, actually, in LA. That's really good, and we'll get them detox there first safely, and then bring them to us afterwards for the treatment side of it.
So our first concern is always physical safety.
Absolutely.
Always 100% physical safety.
Absolutely.
How are they doing right now? Do they have any medical conditions? If the answer is yes, then maybe they go to a detox, maybe they go to a hospital. Once that is stabilized, now we're looking at whether or not they need to be an inpatient or an outpatient.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A lot of that is determined by concurrent stressors that are going on in a person's life. Sometimes the home life or the peer influence is so great in a person's life that if we try to do it on an outpatient basis right from the beginning, that the stressors in their life are going to be too great. They need to be put into a setting where they can start to have the drugs come out of their system and address those stressors with your therapists.
Well, and you hit the nail on the coffin. You know, it's making that adjustment. You know, could everybody be appropriate for outpatient? Yes. Could everybody be appropriate, unless they're detoxing, obviously? Could everybody be appropriate for a residential program? Yes. But does that mean that within 5 to 10 days, once we really find out what the underlying issues are, that we make that adjustment? If someone is not appropriate for outpatient, you'll make that adjustment. You'll say, I'm sorry, we can't treat you here. You have to go to a higher level of care, and then you can step down. Or for us, if they're, you know, there's really no severe drug addiction, there might be a lot more mental health, we got to make that adjustment and send them to a higher level of care in a mental health program that specializes in that. Or if they'd be better off at an outpatient program, we'll get them into an outpatient program. A lot of it also has to do with insurance coverage and those types of things, and that, unfortunately, a lot of facilities don't talk about that because it's like the business side of it, but it needs to be talked about because people don't know. They don't know what covers, what doesn't cover. You know, and I think that's one of the topics you wanted to talk about today as well, right?
Well, and transparency and all that, I think, is really important. One of the other things that separates, I think, or sets aside high quality from not is when you call and you talk to a treatment facility, if they're not absolutely upfront about not only about their facility and the practices that go on, but about how they work with insurance or not, and the finances on a client's end versus insurance company's end. If all that's not right out in the open, then it needs to be.
Absolutely.
It needs to be.
Absolutely. The families need to, you know, and I understand where they're coming from. I mean, you know, you're put in a position where my loved one is actively, they're showing symptoms. We found something in their room or whatever it is, and we're in panic mode all of a sudden. Oh my God, I got to get this person help. And you really don't take the time to like if you buy a car, let's bring back the cars, right? If you buy a car, you're going to take the time to research the car. You're going to go out there and you're going to drive it. You're going to talk to your friends, whether they liked it. So you're going to take the time to really find out what's the best model for you. It has to be like that with treatment as well, because this is a disease that carries on lifelong, right? This is not something that, okay, you went through treatment, you're good, you know, things are fixed. So, you know, really take the time. Find out, does my insurance cover this? How are you billing my insurance? Because we've had families that went through programs and they got a bill for $90,000 all of a sudden. You want to talk about ethical practices? That happens a lot. Right. You don't want to fall into those positions. And, you know, again, in the end of the day, treatment programs, it's a business. Right, we do provide help, and just like doctors and nurses and all that, it's a business.
Well, you have to sustain financially to be able to keep the doors open.
Provide the service,
absolutely,
exactly. And that's what families really need to understand, is that in the end of the day, when they're talking to the person on the other line, if they're not giving them all the information that they need, their job is to get people in.
Right.
And I answer all my calls. I think that's one of the things that stands aside from us, is that as being the owner of the program and answering the calls and handling the intakes, my job is to help them get. I'm not an admissions person that's working based on commission. I don't have numbers to reach, so yes, it's a business, but we're a small program. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to provide that client with appropriate referral. If they're not appropriate for us, I'm not going to take them.
Right.
And that happens a lot in educating the families, talking to them about what is insurance, what covers, what doesn't cover, how do the case managers on the other lines work, so again.
Well, and it is a balance that goes on when you have a business that is providing health care and you're personally involved in that, and especially when it comes to mental health and substance abuse, because it's you're making a personal commitment as an entity to be involved with this family.
Absolutely.
And so we're starting this relationship right here, and I have to be able to keep that balance and to keep in my mind that what I'm here for is to help.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom line, what I'm here for is to help. And I have to do that in the context of not having the door shut because I can't financially keep it open. But you've seen a lot of the articles, and you've seen a lot of, because of the way that works, some people get into this business with no idea about the personal touch that it takes, or dealing with the families, and they're purely in it maybe for the money.
Right.
And because of the way the system is set up, it has maybe allowed for very bad practices.
Absolutely.
What are some of the practices that are out there that people are afraid of? And can we talk a little bit about? So I hear terms like this, like body brokering, like drug testing pays whatever,
Sure.
like what does all that mean?
So, insurance companies, they're making it more and more difficult because they see the outcomes. They're very generous initially with what they're willing to cover and not cover, and how much, and so on and so forth. So what we've seen in the industry is, providers, when they go through treatment, the insurance companies don't only just pay them for treatment, but they pay them for all these other ancillary things that are happening. So, for example, urine tests and analysis. You have a lot of inpatient programs that are testing their clients 2 to 4 or 5 times a week. Now, I understand there needs to be
inpatient.
Okay. I understand there needs to be checks and balances, make sure that the client is not using, but think about it. You're in an inpatient program. Why would you be afraid of the client using?
Well, I'm thinking if you have to test your clients 5 times a week,
right,
then how are the drugs getting into your facility?
How are they getting into it? And again, you'll have arguments and statements by the programs. Well, they're detoxing. We want to make sure they're detoxing off the right meds and this and that. But look, at the end of the day, we all know insurance pays really, really well for a urine test.
Right.
They pay extremely well. So a lot of the times in programs will use those funds as supplemental income. There are labs out there offering tens of thousands of dollars on a monthly basis just so you can give them your business.
I've gone to many of the conferences that are industry conferences, and I have been approached numerous times by testing companies that go and we'll work with insurance and we'll show you how to do all that. And,
absolutely.
And this and that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And our program just where we test and send out our UAs. Upon admission, first test.
Yeah, you want to see what's in someone's system.
You want to see what's going on, right? We test typically once or twice a week internally, but don't ever send it out. We want to, because we do go to meetings every night. We go on outings on the weekends. So there are points throughout the week where we do want to test and make sure everything. We go to the gym a couple times a week. So, but it's for our own internal purposes. We don't send it out to a lab.
It's inclusive of the program.
Exactly. We don't. Exactly. Family's not financially responsible for it and stuff like that. So that's one aspect. Another thing is body brokering. There are a lot of people out there, and this is where trust comes into play.
Well, these are the big articles in like Newsweek and in all over the place are because of these practices you're about to talk about, and it sucks because. Average Joe who doesn't know, they see the Newsweek article and they're like, oh my God, don't send your kid to a treatment center because look what goes on in there, which is unfortunate for all of us. Yeah.
It's unfortunate for the people who are staying on the right path and don't do those types of things. So right now there's a big fight against body brokering in conjunction with the FBI and insurance organizations are working together to really combat this problem. But what it is just people who are in the industry who've either been through treatment before or clean and sober or maybe not, and they've really, they've developed a strong sober community. They're highly present in meetings. They're highly present in all different aspects of the industry. And what they do is they pretty much find clients, or they are contacted by people who want treatment, and they place them into facilities that are willing to pay them a fee for that referral. And unfortunately, when you refer a client to a facility, especially if it's exactly because if it's insurance-based, you're not allowed to pay commission on an insurance-based client. And forget about that legal entity. It's also about the moral. Is that client really going to a good program based on that referral? Is it really a good program, or is it just a program that was willing to pay that fee?
Got it.
So that affects the treatment quality for the client as well. And there's a lot of other things, a lot of disturbing things that I've been witness to. I mean, clients going into treatment because they were paid to go to treatment. There's a lot of things like that out there. But I don't want to scare the people in the wrong direction. I just want to, again, research. Talk to a few programs before you make a decision and really find out the details. Or whoever you talk to will get advice from. Really try to investigate what's the motive behind it, because there's a lot of people that are impersonating, people who are there to help. They're really not, and they're there just to make a buck.
Well, and I think even as even as drug counselors and people that work inside of treatment, I would really implore people to take a look at their attitude about it. I've been in places where I'm working with or talking to other counselors and have had them say, like, somebody will relapse that they hear about in the community, and I've heard people say something like, well, it's job security for us, or something like that, you know. And so we get into these attitudes about it's not about the client anymore. It's not about the client, and we always try to bring it back to what's best for this person sitting in front of me. Certainly it's not, I've heard all the horrible stories as well, is, even I've even heard stories about people going out and giving drugs to, here's one last run so that you can come into my place.
Or just keep going through the cycle and I'll keep filling up your need. I mean, this is not only done by body brokers, this is also done by treatment providers. Because a lot of treatment providers can't find referrals, so what they'll do is they'll go to their alumni and they'll get high with them, and then they'll bring them back into the community.
Oh man, that's what, God, I don't even want to hear that. I don't even want to hear that.
But that happens.
Of course I know it
that
happens.
And people, everybody's shy from it. They don't want to talk about it, and they don't want to ruin. But those things need to be talked about, because just because they provide treatment doesn't necessarily mean that they're good people. Right. You have to go through the research. You have to educate yourself about what's out there. So.
Right. Well, it's like, it reminds me of the days of the arcane practices of like acute psychiatric inpatient facilities that need to fill beds because they can all of a sudden tap into some kind of government funding or something.
Sure.
And they'll send vans out to pick up homeless people.
Yeah.
They'll go round people up and then bring them in and see if they have mental health diagnosis, and if they do, then they can tap into whatever funding is out there.
Well, and there's also people out there that are going to purchase insurance policies for clients that don't have insurance. That happens all the time. They're getting clients that don't have insurance. They'll buy them an insurance policy, and then they'll bring them into the facility.
Same thing as paying for you to come into treatment, right?
Exactly. Or paying for flights, paying for people to fly out from other states to go into treatment. I mean, those are all things that are being looked at now. So.
Right. They're just unethical on many levels.
Sure.
And what happens, when we started talking about this, what happens is you have average Joe out there who knows nothing about it, and all of a sudden they start to hear about the stuff that goes on, or even worse yet, experience it, and some of the things that have gone on inside of treatment centers that will take people. I've seen treatment centers where family members will roll up to the front door and drop a loved one off and say, I'm out of here, you take care of them.
Yeah.
And which, you can see that happening with a family in the panic mode. I get that.
Sure.
But for the treatment center to say, okay, come on in, we'll take them, right? That right there is when it gets into sticky. That's why there are clients dying in facilities because they're not properly detoxed, because they just take them in. To be able to get a number on how many people have died in treatment is really difficult to do, because now you're in the world of private health information. And so it's hard to get those kind of numbers. But believe it happens. And unfortunately, what happens is that people experience this kind of stuff and they say, we're never going to go to treatment. We're never going to send our loved ones to treatment. And it's really unfortunate because there are high quality places out there. And contrary to popular belief, a lot of people are getting and staying sober. There's a lot of people that are recovering, you know, and they find the right place. And when I make phone calls, this last week, I've had 2 different treatment facilities come and visit our location. And both of them, when I talk to about their treatment, it's just wonderful having conversations with people like yourself, where you're talking about, man, we're doing yoga and we're doing art therapy and we're doing this and we got therapists and we're providing all this wonderful stuff because it is out there. And when somebody finds that kind of a place, people do recover. They absolutely do recover.
Absolutely.
When we come back, we'll wrap all of this up and talk about what it means to get into treatment and what it looks like to be successful in treatment, and that it is a process and there's aftercare and the whole thing that goes along with it. I'm Bob Sharits. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour. We'll be right back.
If you've been concerned about the rising cost of auto insurance, particularly for teen drivers, then you'll want to know what Greg Goodman Farmers Insurance is doing. No matter what you're paying now, check out Farmers Insurance lower rate for teenagers. A little bit of money saved each month can really add up. You might find that your coverage will increase right along with your savings. Call Greg to find out more. 254-6739. Greg Goodman, Farmers Insurance. It's the best policy.
Did you know that nearly 1 in 3 women will experience domestic violence in her lifetime? And in Santa Clarita, our community supports its own domestic violence center with a shelter home, 24-hour crisis hotline, and bilingual counseling programs. If you or someone you know needs help, we're here. The 24-hour crisis hotline number is 259-HELP. For more information, go to dvcsantaclarita.com. Because no one should tolerate domestic violence. 259-HELP.
With locations throughout the valley, Providence offers the most advanced technology and therapies for treating cancer in Southern California. Call 1-888-HEALING for your annual checkup or second opinion. The road to healing leads to Providence.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back to the Way Out Recovery Hour. You should see what goes on during the breaks around here. I'm Bob Sharits, and you know, what a wonderful, wonderful show. I'll tell you that not only is it a breath of fresh air to meet with somebody who really is concerned with their clients and really is willing to provide high quality treatment, even if it doesn't mean the bigger profits. You know, it's just a breath of fresh air. You and I started having some pretty serious conversations about this very topic and about how we can help Santa Clarita not too long ago when we met and started sitting down. You proposed, and I jumped right in with you, that one of the things that Santa Clarita needs is an ongoing educational forum where we can provide free seminars to the Valley, to community members, to anybody who wants to attend, so that people who are out there that need the help know exactly what they're getting, so that they are informed on the issues that are that are out there. And so you and I have been planning a multitude of events that are going to take place. Monthly? You want to do it monthly?
I think we should do it monthly. I would like to do it monthly, yeah.
I would love to. So one of the things that I would love to do is put my email out there, bob@thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Email me and give me some ideas on this, because we want to do this monthly, but if the community says, no, it's too much, then maybe we don't, but we want to do it monthly.
Sure.
We want ideas on topics. We have an event that's coming up, and I think it's going to be just out of the ballpark, especially for our first event.
Absolutely.
So you talked to the mayor?
Talk to the mayor.
The mayor said, so Cameron Smythe said to Arthur, yes, we're behind you on this.
100%.
So we have the city's buy-in on this. KHTS, we talked to them, and they think it's a great idea. We're going to put it out here. We talked to College of the Canyons, their health and wellness center over there, and Larry Schallert talked to his supervisors, and they are going to provide a room for us in the Diane Van Hook University Center. It is on September the 7th, and we reached out to one of the greatest, I think, assets, little-known assets in the Santa Clarita Valley, Dr. Patricia Patton, who's a local MFT, a local therapist, who's been providing the absolute best treatment out here for as long as I've known her.
Sure.
She is going to be presenting on mental health and substance use issues. And so anything you want to say about this event that's coming up?
I mean, just kind of going back to what our entire topic was about, just education. I mean, the reason why we set it up is so that the families of the community have a safe place where they can go to and just know what's out there, see what's out there, learn something new. I mean, even if you're personally not going through it right now, you might know somebody that is. You might have a family member or a friend, and everything in life is all about educating yourself and progressing in life. So it's a free event. You know, there are still free things out here.
Right.
Food will be provided, snacks and refreshments, and really an amazing human being who, like you said, Bob, has been providing treatment services for the Santa Clarita Valley for a very long time. So.
Yeah, I love Patricia Patton. She's such a wonderful. You get closer and you just feel that vibe.
Yeah,
She's such a wonderful person.
I met her for the first time at our event, and I mean, she was
like,
extremely
hey,
captivating.
get this lady.
She was extremely captivating.
That's right.
And, yeah, we're really excited, so please come.
So you mentioned the word safe. One of the things I want to put out there is when you come to this event, September 7th, 6 p.m., although come a half an hour early and talk about the resources that are out there. We will have a resource table. So show up at 5:30. It is at the University Center on College of the Campus, Valencia, College of the Canyons, Valencia campus at the University Center, 6 p.m. on September 7th. The reason I mention it's an absolute safe space, if you don't know what you're going to find, but you want to come and ask some questions, we are open for you to ask us anything on that day.
Absolutely.
Come and talk to us about anything. And if our topic ends up going somewhere where you need it to go, that's what we're here for.
And we do have an Evite that's going out on Facebook and a different platform. So please either email Bob or you can email me at valleyrecoverycenter@gmail.com. Okay, that's valleyrecoverycenter@gmail.com. And we'll send you an invite to that as well with a little bit more detailed information.
If somebody needs to get a hold of you, what's your phone number as well?
I'll give you my cell phone. It's 818-571-9841. Again, that's 818-571-9841.
All right, so call Arthur, call us, and show up on our event. What an outstanding time we've had here
Thanks,
today.
Bob.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much
Thank
for
you.
coming on. This is the Way Out Recovery Hour. I'm Bob Sharits, and we will see you next week.